The process of bringing the characters to life begins the old-fashioned way, with paper and pencil.
It does begin the way 2D animation begins, and that's on paper. And my job is to sit there and design characters, and I do all of that on paper. I'm probably the most technically challenged person in the building. They're all pinned to a board, and after several meetings, the director will decide on one design. When the second movie came along, The Meltdown, we had all this experience behind us, and we knew what the look of the film was, and we were able to just jump in and say, what kind of characters can we do now? You know, what really fun things did we not get a chance to include in the first one? But I think we have something like 20 new characters.
Once the characters have been created on paper, they go to the model department, where they are sculpted and make the leap from 2D to 3D.
Peter DeSev does the character designs, and then after they're approved by the director, then we enlarge it to the size of what this sculpture will look like. Then from there, we actually start blocking down the clay, and we'll caliper off of the drawing to the clay. Then there's small modeling tweaks that happen from there. Eyes bigger, nose smaller, mouth wider. Then we have 2 more days to work on it, and then from there is the final approval.
Having made the leap from drawing to sculpture, now our characters enter the world of lasers and scanners. This is where artistry meets high tech.
So we have the final maquette, and we're going to scan it. We're using this Polhemus handheld scanner. It's all triangulated in 3D space. It shows up in the computer. So in short, what I'm doing is doing multiple passes that end up getting all stitched together in the computer.
Once the model is scanned into the computer, the artists get to work creating rigging, a virtual skeleton of the character, allowing it to have a full range of movement.
We have to do all the setup to get it to move, basically. And we build a skeleton for each character, and then apply different components to set it up so that the animators have control over each area of the rig.
And I provide them with drawings of how I think that character would move, especially facial drawings that show the extremes and the limits of expression.
Behind the crazy characters of Iceage the Meltdown are some creative characters, the animators. Before they bring our heroes to life, the animators at Blue Sky Studios become them.
After the characters get digitized in the computer, we take it here in animation and we start to think about what we need to do for the scene. We need to come up with some ideas. When we start a sequence of the movie, it's the supervisor and the director and all the animators are sitting in a room and we watch the story reel. And Carlos will go through the story reel, go through every shot and describe what he's thinking he wants it to be and what emotion it should be portraying. And then they go back to the desk and they'll throw out some ideas and then show it to the director.
Our animator shoots reference all the time for every character. It's the newer characters that we're trying to figure out, like Crash and Eddie and Ellie and a couple other characters in the film. But we record ourselves always for doing a shot, just to get the best acting, natural feel to it.
In the world of a racing problem, that would make you more relatable.
Well, what ends up happening is after we finish recording it, we hook it up to just a Mac or computer, and we bring it in and we make a little QuickTime that we can actually load onto our machine as we're animating the shot. We can have it in the corner of the window just to look at it to say, oh, this is what ideas. But when it comes down to it, when you start animating, you're just using it as ideas, as reference. And you'll find the character as you're posing him out that, well, I could do this, but maybe the character might not be able to have that range of motion. So we limit it, but we use it as an inspiration.
You got 65 guys that are trying to learn one character, so you have to develop libraries of different facial expressions for him, and the way he stands, the way he moves, like a twitch here or a nose sniff here. The character, when you first load him in, he comes in pretty much like this, which is pretty default, arms out, straight, no personality. And then if we go to like the face, I have like these icons over here that'll be different kind of expressions, like, worry or sad, tail poses, depending on how he's feeling. shot I'm working on now is Scrat does karate. He's basically taking on, that one's got like 25 piranhas, that one is acorn. So like, I'll show like the first shot to the director, just getting your ideas out there. He's like, it looks cool, but let's speed it up, let's make it more intense. And instead of this dance at the end, let him, jump up and then start to walk away confident. So I'll re-block out some ideas. I speed it up much faster now. And now I see that, oh, this guy has his acorn, so he feels confident and walks away.
Cutting-edge technology and artistry allow the animators of IceAge to create astonishingly lifelike fur for the main characters.
The returning characters like Sid and Diego and Manny and Scrat, what we did was we went into the old files and we generated this massive data which had all the information about the cards that we drew, and we're using that old technology to sort of give us a starting point with the new hair, so it looks the same. So when you see Sid, you recognize him. That's Sid. He's got the same sort of like scraggly hairs and that kind of stuff.
In general, all the characters' fur is just totally dry and regular, and it'll just move based on that. But I can add things like wind and just general turbulence directions, so that when they are on the top of like the peak, I can just take and give a nice little swirl to it, so it feels more like they're in the actual atmosphere.
The Meltdown also takes advantage of technological advances that the team has made at Blue Sky. A big part of this film is water, and water is one of the most challenging aspects of CG animation, especially when water interacts with characters.
Tremendous amounts of water, floods, rapids, this incredibly effects-intensive movie. I have 2 people in my group that are specialists in fluid dynamics, and they're working on all of the software, and there's an entire effects group that's developing techniques to utilize this and set it up for the movie, and they're just doing an extraordinary job.
Water tends to be very slow to render, for one thing. It's very difficult to animate and to control. And that can be very difficult, especially when you have to interact that with the characters. The most important goal for us is going to be to make sure that we marry the effects animation with the character's animation, because you don't want to see a character jump in the water and be distracted by some splash that doesn't look right or doesn't feel right. We have these sort of directable techniques that let us get a lot of control over the animation. And that's huge for us because it gives us a real advantage, so that we can match the performance of the character. We can really sell the sense of peril. We can actually pull the splashes and create an actual shape. So if a character comes and hits the water at an angle, we can really preference the splash to go sort of in the opposite direction.
Same way the technology evolves, creatively we'll all evolve too. So the challenges are higher, the challenges are greater, the technology gets better, and we get better stuff in the movie.
Okay.